traffic.
So I was just going to say, I hear it's bad out there. It's bad?
So Seaport to here.
See, you were coming from just the seaport?
Seaport to here, and I walked half the way, 45 minutes.
What a dedicated individual. What dedication that is.
I sprinted here for you guys.
You know what? We fully appreciate. I don't know if this sounds genuine or not, but we fully appreciate that.
You think I would have blew you guys off? Just blow it off. Can't make it.
I mean, we were a little nervous about that, if we're being honest.
I'm a man of my word.
A man of your word. By the way, Brian Scalabrine brought to you by Shaw's and Star Market. That's perfecting the art of fresh. He's brought to you by John Sewer and Drain Cleaning, the name to know when your drains don't flow, and by FindMassMoney.gov. It's not a great day to be running out there, I'd imagine, right? It's still pretty hot and sweaty.
I'm okay. Just okay.
Okay.
Yeah, selfies, those are a problem. They're like thunder showers. You got to avoid them.
Wait, so
when I'm late, I'm huffing.
Well, we know what you're talking about. People mob us all the time. But so you're saying that happens to you?
Well, not all the time, but in this particular instance,
There's a
people
lot
are
of
coming down here about the Celtics. So, I'm late, so it's like, come on, we're going to do it. We're going to do it on the run here, But everyone was really cool and nice. So, this is why we want to be good. We want the hype, right?
No, for sure. Yeah. And so I'm sure a lot of people ask you this. How are you picking the series? I'd imagine we're all picking the Celtics. I'd imagine you're on the Celtics. But let's hear your prediction and why.
Yeah, I'm picking a game 5 or 7 here to us to win it so I can party all night. I've always regretted, always. I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but not partying until the sun came up after a championship, major regret.
Why didn't you do it last time?
Because I didn't know. It was my first one. You don't know what you're doing.
It was like
you were saving yourself for the parade.
No, I wasn't. I didn't think about it. Now, I know exactly what I'm doing.
Did other guys on the team party all night?
I heard they did.
Okay, but it was all their first, right? So they all knew?
Yeah. I'm going in the streets. I'm not going to someone's house.
Mike Napoli, remember, with the cigarettes walking around? Yeah.
That's who did it right. That's true.
If I can be disciplined on my diet, then I could have a 2-pack by the time. So I could go no shirt. I could go no shirt all night.
Nice. Napoli didn't have any packs going on, but besides the Marlboro Lights or whatever.
Pack of Newports.
Yeah, exactly. But so the regret is that you weren't able to party here, but you have the Celtics winning here.
Yeah, no. I think my head tells me that it's a 6-game series, right? Like Luka and Kyrie are going to be worth at least 1, if not 2 games. I hope that we can close it in 5. I would not love to go to 7 with Luka, but it does seem like we're such a good road team. We have so many advantages. It seems like it's going to be a 6-game series. We'll probably win it on the road.
What do you expect from the Celtics tonight with this 9+ day layoff? Do you think that we're making too big of a deal out of that?
So game 1, we were awesome against Miami. Game 2, awesome. Series 2, game 1 against the Cavs, really good, right? So we had to drop off in 2. But then against Indiana, I thought we played awful, right? So I'm going to go with the energy, all the hype and everything like that. I'm going to say that we play very well today. I'm really optimistic. I watched both games twice. It's like the game plan against Luka and Kyrie was great. We attacked them relentlessly. We didn't bog down. It's just whoever had them went to the rim. We spaced well with Porzingis, knocked down a ton of threes. I just think when you look at the way we play now, it doesn't mean we're going to replicate that. I think Dallas is a lot better from that March 1st matchup, and I think that was our best offensive game of the season. So if we can echo that, we don't have to replicate it exactly, but if we can get somewhere similar to that, we're going to have a really good series.
What do you think of Jason Kidd as a coach? They had a really tough path to get here. He seems like he's got the respect of those guys, got the respect of Kyrie Irving, which you don't hear very often. How do you sort of view him in the league?
Yeah,
he wasn't always successful.
No, I mean, you have to judge it by what? They got that. And no disrespect to Garnett and Pierce, but you remember that roster in Brooklyn? That was a disaster what they did. That was like the shift of old guys don't win. It's a young man's league, and there were only a few people that were. I'm not sure if this Brooklyn thing is going to work, and obviously it worked out for us. We got Tatum Brown.
Worked out great.
Yeah. So I don't judge him on that. And you look at what he did in Milwaukee. I thought he kind of bridged the gap between where they were at to when Budenholzer took over, who's also a great coach. But if you ask Jason Kidd, he'll tell you I learned a lot winning a championship in the bubble, and I learned a lot from Frank Vogel. So Like those things do matter. And I think everybody, all of us at one point, we all sucked at our job and we got better at it, right?
Still working.
Yeah, I mean,
Still working on it.
but better now than you were a month ago.
I don't know about that.
You might be getting worse.
I hope so.
No, but it's just, and I remember I look back at some of the things I was like, man, I was terrible, right? So everyone got better. Jason Kidd, I think he really got better. I think he has a real good pulse of what I consider like this generation of player.
So you mentioned you watched both of the regular season games. One was with Porzingis, one was without.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think he brings to the lineup tonight? What do you think he's capable of? I know those are different questions, but what sort of impact does he make?
Most important guy out there, because if you look at Dallas throughout the playoffs, like Lively and Gafford were amazing. And I think they got something up their sleeve. Obviously, they're not tipping their hat, but I think they got something up their sleeve with the way that they're going to guard Porzingis, and they're going to try to keep, you guys all remember, obviously, I hate to give you a compliment. You're a really bright guy and everything like that. But you remember the way that they moved the defense around, Rob Williams, when no matter who was in the corner, they brought him over. They must have something like that. Because if they're going into a Boston Celtics series and they're going to leave Porzingis wide open as they protect the rim and protect Kyrie, protect Luka, then I think they're going to lose. But, I really believe they're going to try to do as much as they can to keep a guy at the rim and then be able to rotate to Porzingis. And if you look at our team, I would think if I'm Dallas, I would be okay with the Porzingis mismatch against like the smaller guy, right? They're going to try to play that. If it's Kyrie, we'll have success. If it's Luka, can kind of hold his ground. So I don't know if that's a great matchup for us, but I definitely think that Dallas has something up their sleeve where they're just not going to leave Porzingis wide open while they're helping out on Luka Doncic.
How would you describe Luka's gamesmanship, and can you think of anybody from your era, your time in the league, that you would compare that to?
I mean, he's a lot like Larry Bird. That's not my era, but he's a lot like Larry Bird. Like all the old heads would tell you that Larry Bird was a savage. He'll talk trash to you. When you're feeling a little unconfident about how this game is going, it like brings his energy up. So they're different, like Larry Bird was probably more nasty, and Luka is like just like kind of like a showman, if you want to use that term. But our era wasn't really like that. Like my era wasn't like that with guys that are
Garnett was never like that.
Well, he's using like incredible skill, talent, and he's disrupting defenses and manipulate them, drawing double teams away. When we played, we being the Nets, played the Celtics, and we were down, remember that 21-point comeback, right? They trap Jason Kidd every single time. Like where you never want to be in basketball is right over half court in that corner, right? That's like a cardinal sin. You don't want to be there. Jason Kidd would string that out and smile at the guy and then beat you with the pass. Like Luka can do that, but he also can score 30 on you. It's like this generation of players is so much different. They're like a combination of scoring, passing, rebounding, gamesmanship. It's like, I think Luka is more kind of throwback to like a Larry.
The other day, Jason Tatum was being interviewed, and he said, it's the finals. It's supposed to be fun. And that kind of stuck out to me because it seems like the Celtics, outwardly anyway, aren't having a whole lot of fun in the run-up to these finals. They've been very kind of defensive. They've been lashing out about, media stuff and things that Greeny and, Perk and people are saying. And I sort of wonder, were they like that 2 years ago? Because you're closer to the team than obviously we are. Or is this something that's sort of new this year? Or is it even the perception that you'd agree with? Like, am I right? Or?
No, I mean, I think
Scal, you got dogs waving at you.
Yeah, you
That's
like a baby lassie.
Yeah, you got to wait back to a corgi.
That's a really good question. I don't know when people use the term fun. I have no idea what that means to people. Is that like getting after it? Is that like getting into the ball? Is that chest bumping one another? I got to be honest with you, and let's just use your assessment of this. I thought they had fun in the Indiana series. Like, I thought that was a good series. I liked the way that they played in that series. It didn't look that way in Cleveland. It didn't look that way in the Miami series. But I really liked the way that Tatum played games 3 and 4 in Cleveland. Didn't shoot it well, but he was aggressive. So the Indiana series was a great series. It was a competitive series. And I thought that those guys lived for the moment. So let's just eject that series out of it, then yeah, it looks like they weren't having fun. But I disagree if they said they weren't having fun in that Indiana series, then I don't know what fun is.
Brian Scalabrine, NBC Sports Boston, joining us here for his weekly appearance in person at the Big Night Studios at TD Garden, which we appreciate, Scal, for battling the traffic out there.
Oh, my gosh.
So you had a sit-down with Tatum.
I did.
And it was, I mean, the run time that I watched was like 5 minutes. I don't know how long the sit-down was. But you got to go through his full game, not focusing as much on the scoring, the rebounding, passing. What was your takeaway from sitting down with Tatum in that conversation?
That he has embraced that for probably the last 3 years, being more of a complete player. You know, I think people make a big deal about the scoring. I happen to, and I don't know if you listen to me, I'm pretty big on Tatum. You're the best player on this team. You need to be aggressive. I don't know what the end result of being aggressive is. It might not be shots or whatever, but I just like our team when he's aggressive. I don't know of a game that he played aggressive, got downhill, and had like he was a high volume guy that we didn't do well. I don't really remember him. And there was a point in time where his usage rate was right around T.J. McConnell, like 19th in the playoffs. That can't be the case, right? So I'm a big proponent of that. Kevin Miller, my boss, wanted me to do the segment. I really wanted to tell Tatum, man, forget about all this passing, man. Go out there and be a savage. But I was a good soldier, and I did the segment.
Wait, so that's how Tatum pitched it, or that's how your boss pitched it to you?
Pitched it to them, and I'll just do whatever they want me to do, right? But I do think that he's a complete player. I want him to get credit for being a complete player. But to me, like, listen, I'm around basketball. I was around Garnett. You know, you mentioned Garnett and just Jason Kidd. And man, this game is more about your mindset than anything. You're more about your disposition to dominate. It's more about, like, Tatum waking up and just, like, thinking, you know, let's go Rocky Balboa, Drago, and it's like, you know, picture on the mirror, I'm going to destroy this guy. That's what I think. When I think of the playoffs, I think of that. When I think of the regular season, I think it's like an emotional massaging of your teammates, make sure they're good and all that. At the playoff time, I want Jason Tatum to outplay Luka Doncic. I don't want to accept the fact that, well, we know Luka's the better player. Let's just, like, Tatum can move the ball. I don't actually think like that. I think Tatum has to think that, and he does play well against those other stars. Like, he puts up big numbers, right? I want him to do that. Somewhere in the middle of the year this year, or towards the end, he stopped caring about that, right? But at the beginning of the year, or in the past, like the Ja Morant matchup, the Luka Doncic matchup, we know what he does to Kevin Durant. We know what he's done with Bradley Beal, his buddy. I know he's
Giannis.
Yeah, the Giannis matchup, right? So I think he lives for that, and I'd rather see that Tatum than the Tatum that's listening to me when he's looking at the iPad, right? I did my job, and I was fine with it, but I just want to see him like a savage out there. That's when I think we're at our best.
We went through some Luka stats yesterday about who he is in clutch time against the Celtics over the last couple of seasons. And I'm wondering, how much does his performances rattle you? We're even just like talking about the night that they retired KG's number, and Luka had a dagger in that game.
Sure.
And what do the Celtics do when they're up against somebody like that in the clutch?
So it's amazing. We are the most delusional athletes in general. If you talk to them and hang out, we're so delusional, right? We don't like you're looking at.
It's like sports radio hosts. It's the same.
You are definitely like that.
No, for
You're
sure.
definitely like that. But like you don't think that, oh man, here we go again. You know, the only time I guess I've ever seen that, and I hate to admit it, but it felt like we were like that a little bit with Jimmy Butler. When Jimmy Butler came in and started barking at us, and I was like, we're not supposed to be like this. We're supposed to raise our level up. So you're asking me and my era and generation, none of those guys would be like.
There's no respect over there when you're in the game.
No, I mean, you know what he could do, but you talk about it like, all right, we're going to lock him up. Like, enough is enough with this guy. You know what I mean? But I know that the best of the best in the past, like the Michael Jordans of the world. You heard like DeMar DeRozan talking about LeBron James. Well, if we had LeBron, we would win too. Like, I never heard that type of talk when I was a player. So I'm not saying they don't do it. I'm not saying this generation doesn't do it. But I've seen a lot of, you know, like those things happening in this generation. But I just can only tell you from my perspective, I've never heard of a player that's been like when we played LeBron, it wasn't like, oh man, that's LeBron James, we're gonna lose. We didn't think like that.
Do you have concerns about them being in a close game with this particular matchup?
So every game has a life of its own, right? I'm really optimistic about. Here's what I think is going to happen. And I'm really optimistic about that. You really do drink that.
I really do.
I really do.
You know what? We asked her to leave that on the counter just for you.
I'm working the game.
She wanted to hide
be
it.
In post game. Like,
She wanted to hide that mountain. If you're listening at home, that's Mountain Dew.
You know how it is. I got like
it's flat
7
and
more
warm
hours
like right
of
now,
work
too.
here.
All right. So I really think. Wait. Do you
You're
think
so
that,
grossed out.
Yeah. I can't. I don't understand. Why don't you drink a cup of coffee? Like Starbucks is right there.
It upsets my stomach.
But that's okay.
Yeah, that I can down this.
No, that green bubbly stuff. That's great.
Well, you had a good question. I was going to give you a good answer, but what was it?
It was about Luka in the clutch, and if the matchup is a problem.
Are you worried about this team in close games with this Mavericks matchup? Yeah.
No. Okay. So no, because I think that they're. I think that they're ready for this. I think the Indiana series is like a series that helped them grow through this. I don't know if we can't say anything about the Miami series because they had a JV team out there. Same thing with Cleveland. But Indiana, I don't care what anybody said. I guess Halliburton's out. It doesn't matter. Like they played good basketball, and I thought we responded well in that series. Late buckets, late stops. 5.5 minutes to go down, win probability under 10%, and you figure out a way to win. So I would assume that they would pull some confidence from that. But, if Luka is still energetic in the fourth quarter, then we did something wrong this game. If Drew Holiday's not picking him up three-quarter court to start the game, if Jaylen Brown's not picking him up at half court in the second half, that's what I think is going to happen. If they're not doing that, then we're doing something wrong. I think when Joe Mazzulla said there's a lot of ways to beat or to guard Luka Doncic, and it's not necessarily all defensively, which he's right. Pickup points, right? Wearing him out, making him work really hard. And then on the other side of it, it's also, like how much you attack him on that end.
Is that something he's more susceptible to? It's like body type wise conditioning. Is he more susceptible to that, or is that like a universal thing?
You're saying because he looks like he's heavy?
Yes.
No, I think it's more about
is he easier to wear out than other players?
No, it's just style of play. You see how he's methodical. He wants to dribble the ball. He wants to hold it in his hands. He holds, I think it's 8.5 seconds per possession. It's less this year than it has been in the past. But that's his game. You go and do that to somebody else that's getting off the ball. Jokic, you can't do that to Jokic. Just get off of it, right? Luka wants to massage that ball. So if you're going to have the ball for 8.5 seconds, well, let's be face to face and let's wear him out.
All right, we talked a lot about Brown and Tatum, Luka and Kyrie. Name a player, Celtics or Mavericks, either one, who's not getting talked about a lot, but is going to make a big impact on this series.
So Holiday for me. Holiday will guard Luka. I think Holiday will be super aggressive offensively. Holiday's a guy. So if you're into the gambling, pick Holiday on the over, right?
Okay, noted.
Okay, and then for them, I think it's the two bigs. I consider them one. I've been a real proponent of having bigs don't need rhythm. Guards need rhythm. You could put a big in 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes, 3 minutes. I give Jason Kidd all the credit in the world. I was like, why not have hard-playing bigs that just play like short stints, like hockey style, right? I think that's what they do. I like those two guys. If we negate those two guys with our spacing, we smoke them. I'm partying game 5. If those guys are a problem, this thing could go to 7, or I could be in Dallas, which is, I'm not going out and partying.
What's the spot going to be?
Oh, I'm hitting the streets. First start here and just
Yeah. Who are you bringing with you? Who are you bringing with you? Forsberg? Giles?
Carter?
No, you're not Giles. I know Giles personally. I feel like Giles might be a good person to bring up.
He's
Drew?
I would definitely bring
The
Drew.
truth.
Okay.
Bring out the truth.
That dude's a savage, man. Definitely bring him.
All right.
And he's definitely going to hear this. And he's going to be like, come on, Scal, why you got to talk about me like that?
Okay, well, Scal, I'll tell you what. Maybe we'll be back here for Game 5. This is great, the in-person. Thank you for sprinting over here and getting it done. We really appreciate it.
You got it.
Thanks, Scal.
All right.